All right, we are live for the Mike and Mario show this Friday afternoon, and as always, last minute things on my part here. So I apologize, Mario, for keeping you waiting, as well as the audience. But we're here, and yeah, been an interesting week. A lot of interesting things unfolding. On top of all the excitement, a lot of excitement in the U.S. right now, based upon a lot of promises that have been made in reference to what's coming and what's to be expected in 2025 from the Trump administration, if we get to that point. But anyway, we're going to talk about that and a lot more. Mario, how are you doing, my good friend?
I'm doing well, Mike. And you?
Oh man, I'm doing good, man. Doing real well, and as always, excited to close out the week by getting a chance to, recap over some things with you and get your thoughts and analysis on things, as well as check in with the viewers, those that are plugged in. And I'm sure there's, like dozens of things that we can talk about, but between my two eyes, your two eyes, we can only see so much. But when you have audiences that are active as yours as well as mine, we can try to put more of the pieces of puzzle together. That's all. So a lot of yeah. So I guess how do you want to start this off? I want to start off by basically just mentioning the new milestone that it looks like we've touched in this country. And so let me just zoom in if I can. It looks like we are at 36 and counting. So literally, I saw it when it hit 36 trillion even, and it didn't stay there long. So as we can see, there is no going back now. And the question is, where do we go from here? And it's going to be interesting, man. But yeah.
My view, it's going to keep going up, but it might even accelerate. And why is that? Well, because I think the bond market is teetering on the edge in terms
Mm,
of we could see, uh, yeah, like the price of bonds or treasuries are
mhm.
testing some really key supports, and that's a bad thing for everything because most people follow the stock markets, but the bond markets are a lot bigger. And
Yeah.
if you look at John Exter's inverted pyramid, you've got
Mhm.
gold and I'd say silver as well at the bottom. But after that, you've got like Federal Reserve notes, T bills, and bonds. And if bonds get a bit wobbly, uh, yields go up, mortgage rates go up, everything, yeah, could unravel actually. That's the way I see it. And we're very close to that. And it's weird because most people are not looking at the bonds.
Yeah. So speaking of bonds, I just I happen to keep up some tabs just for my own curiosity, and so I don't follow it as well as in depth as you do. But just looking at the tenure here, just for the last 5 days here, continue to tick upwards, and so clearly the 10 is what a lot of people use to gauge a lot of economic indicators. So like literally like from based upon where you're seated at, like this is a result of like a lot of pressure and concerns about our government debt on top of all types of other issues, political stuff, or is there anything that may not be factored into how you can see a sudden surge in the days ahead?
Well, I think sometimes things just happen.
Mhm.
Fundamentally, yeah, the debt is the big problem. The
Yeah.
other thing is that I think like inflationary pressures are picking up again. Even
Mm.
Jay Powell yesterday, he was speaking in Dallas and said that there are no rush to cut rates. So they're
Yeah.
seeing the bond market. The other thing is, well, even though there's a new administration out there, and will be out there on January 20th, and Trump has said he wants to deal more with the rest of the world and bring peace. He's still very combative, I would say,
Mhm.
to countries like Russia, China, and India. That he sees them as adversaries. So I think the de-dollarization is only going to pick up, and that means these countries are going to be buying a lot less treasuries. They're going to accelerate even more.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. Now, I guess we had the CPI figures came out. It looks like things are ticking upward. PPI came out, ticking upward. And so, once again, they're still considering or talking as if like there's going to be another cut. And based upon just those two things I mentioned on top of everything else, like are they literally trying to play the I guess the markets for a fool, or because the average person is so fixated on the stock markets at all time highs, relatively speaking. And then, of course, this past week, I mean, how could you not hear about Bitcoin and from all the mainstream news sources. And I think it was $20,000 in like a 7-day period since Trump's, election win or whatever. And so, um, what is going on, man? A lot of things don't make sense to me. I can't. It's
Yeah,
beyond being able to comprehend for the most part.
I think it was a little bit of a mix of euphoria because if you saw the Dow as well
Hmm.
finish up 1,500 points higher in one day after the Trump election, there's always all this hope that they're going to deregulate everything, well, not everything, but deregulate a lot, that they're going to cut spending and that they're going to be pro Bitcoin.
Hmm.
And Bitcoin, from what I know, is supposed to be the anti-dollar, but at the same time, the dollar went up and Bitcoin went up. Yeah, I just think it's a risk on euphoria,
Hmm.
and I think people need to be careful because if that 10-year yield you showed me uh, goes above 4.5%, 4.5, and we tested that today, and I
Hmm.
think it's going to hold for the week, but next week it could be really turbulent, and we're already seeing Mike, the stock market right now. For example, the S&P is down 82 points or 1.4%. So the stock market doesn't like that. And yeah, look out ahead next week. And next week as well is the week before Thanksgiving. So
Yeah.
we could see some fireworks and all that euphoria that we saw in Bitcoin, especially, could all turn.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying right now in reference to the indexes. And so dollar index 106.15. And so strong dollar, strong stock market, relatively speaking, Bitcoin through the roof. But then again, somehow, some way, I guess all that excitement from an investment standpoint, as well as speculation, led to the drawdown of gold and silver. Where I saw yesterday, you got to 29.71 or something early morning, then shot back up to 30, but it didn't stay below 30, that long. And so, yeah, sound money taking a little bit of a hit, but then again, like, literally when I saw 29, I went like, oop, by now, you know what I'm saying? It was literally like the premiums on what I ended up purchasing was well worth that little dollar dip for me to buy, bulk. So I wasn't too mad at that one. But I guess moving forward, outside of the things we just touched on briefly, those are things that are primary focal points for the economy. We have the pending, what I call possible liquidity crisis, give or take the BTFP, and the day that stops, or is that the magic rug pull that's going to really reset everything and get us going? So I want to share that tweet that you sent me from Finance a Lot, if I can. Give me 1 second here. And yeah, because I haven't followed this as much as I should have probably, but based upon the analysis that he put out here, he's very concerned. And so what I'm referring to here is this tweet here, referring to I guess the liquidity with removal going back to 2020 and how it kind of triggered some events that led to the the surge of liquidity. So when you saw this and you sent it to me, what was your first thoughts or whatever?
Yeah, yesterday I spoke to Andy Scheckman, and he
Hmm.
told me about this BTFP really draining down to almost zero, and I think the Fed's going to stop it very soon.
Hmm.
And this BTFP program was to help the regional banks last year when SFB collapsed. And one
Right.
of the reasons SFB collapsed and other banks were in trouble was because of rising bond yields, like we're seeing now. So yes, this is a major red flag, along with the 10-year yield going higher, because a lot of banks, they hold uh, on their balance sheets, mostly bonds, treasuries, and other bonds, because they're supposed to be safe. uh, and yes, it's the exact wrong time, though, that they're getting rid of this BTFP, but they're just following the schedule. But uh, yeah, it's serious. It's serious for the banking sector.
Yeah, and speaking of what you mentioned, the banks, I wanted to grab this infamous chart that a lot of people have shared. about the unrealized losses that have been underway. And one thing I referenced in a rant I did a while ago was a lot of people focus on the extreme losses on the right above my head here, but I kind of referenced that like in regards to the whole BTFP situation, like this little blip here, which led to 2019, the whole idea of the repo market initially being utilized right in September, is what led to, I guess, the as they were cutting rates or whatever a couple of times here. Then we had that surge up above, and now we're here. So a lot of people reference this 2008 as being the I guess the most dangerous canary in the coal mine, but it started well before now, and it had a lot to do with the whole repo situation going back to 2019. And so, question is, once we get to the breaking point where we actually have no funds left, then what do you think comes next? Is that what Trump will ultimately inherit come next year if we get to that point or no?
Well, you know that you showed that FDIC chart there, the what's happening in the last 2 years. That looks like a very big iceberg that
Mm-hmm.
very few people are noticing, and yeah, it could we could see a major market event prior to January 20th, and we could see Trump. Yeah, coming in a really tough period of for the markets, for the economy, for the banking sector. A little bit like if you remember in '08, that crisis really culminated right before the election
Mm-hmm.
in 2008. This one could be between in the interregnum, as they call it, between Trump winning and being president elect and Trump taking over. And
Yeah.
there are precedents for major crises during this period. I think the worst one was back in uh, after FDR beat Hoover in '32.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge crisis in the run up to the inauguration, which back then was in March 4th, I think, 1933. By
Mm-hmm.
the time Roosevelt took over, he had to declare a national bank holiday because a lot of states were closing their banks. Things were really bad. So who knows? We could have a repeat of 32, 33 in 24, 25.
Yeah, interesting. So I guess one of the things that wouldn't surprise me is that, as I mentioned before, a lot of people, especially when you scroll through social media, extremely excited about the promises that have been made and the appointments of certain individuals. Some of them, a lot of people are questioning, like, say, Swamp 2.0. I'm saying Swamp 2.0 figures based upon a lot of people they associate with the warmongers and everything else. But then you have the Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, with Vivek and Elon. So people are thinking like, that's going to really help trim some of the fat, so our government can, somehow find some type of growth somewhere. But then again, the debt is something that they can't or haven't addressed. And then you have what else? The idea of like what's his name? Robert Kennedy being appointed to our health czar for the most part, and the things that he's talking about disrupting. And I saw a screenshot of all the pharmaceutical companies once that was announced, just basically selling off. I'm like, okay, well,
Well,
so I'm like, that's a lot of things that will be disrupted immediately, but it has a lot of people excited. And what better way to upend that other than there being some type of event due to the monetary system, banking sector, and then current powers that are in play right now can say we were going smooth, we were making our cuts, the economy was strong, and then fill in the blank, and then the
yeah,
response.
I think Trump and his advisors are aware of what's going on, and that they could have a tough, rocky period ahead. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, no one's going to be happy with all the nominations. There's some people there that like Marco Rubio. I think it could have been a better name, maybe like Rand Paul,
Yeah.
for example. But I think RFK Jr., for example, I'd been following him even before 2020 because he had some really good information about the whole vaccine situation, and I was very interested in that, and I have been for over 15, 20 years. So actually, as you know, Mike, I'm very skeptical about any politician, but I think nominating him to be the head of health, a secretary of health, is a really good move. And I'm
Yeah.
happy that all the pharmaceutical stocks collapsed there. And one of the things that I think it was actually Tucker Carlson said he should do is do away with the 1986 law that makes pharmaceutical companies immune from prosecution uh,
Right.
uh, from vaccine damages. It's the only industry in the United States that is above the law, and I think if he does that, it would be really good. Some people think he's a radical and crazy, but he's not stupid. He's been uh, a lawyer, and very successful environmental lawyer. And so I think that was good. If Trump was going to make a nomination that I would be happy with, is Robert Kennedy Jr. And the other thing I think they don't like, Mike, is because a lot of Trump's nominations are from people that were supposedly Democrats. There are Democrats like Tulsi Gabbard as well.
Yeah.
They don't
Right.
like when people get unite. They like division. So that's the way I see that. And But if you and I know, and a lot of other people know that a lot of the data and the talk of a good economy during the Biden administration is a little bit, it's like a Potemkin village, right?
Yeah.
We saw recently those numbers, non-farm payroll revised down 818,000 from March 2023 to March 2024. So, yeah, uh, I would say, though, if things get really bad and before the inauguration, I don't think there would be a better person than the administration coming in to try to get things going again. But it's not going to be plain sailing, like you said.
Now, get things going again, like outside of him doing something, because he appears to be starting off by, shaking things up a little bit with some of these appointments and some of the things he's promising, all the tax things, but he's still very pro crypto, and so there is the SEC chairman Gensler is about to step down, about to resign, and I didn't get a chance to share it with you, but there's 18 states that are suing the SEC based upon like what they consider like, I guess, fraud or just him hindering the growth of the industry. And I'm thinking like, okay, it's amazing how 18 states can all come into agreement on suing the SEC, but then again you have the CFTC that has been in charge of monetary metal manipulation for decades, and the states don't give a dang. But when it comes to crypto, they all on board.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania just passed. They're trying to pass something where they can have a strategic reserve within the state of Pennsylvania. I'm like, is that coincidental, accidental, intentional, or one big psyop? Like, this is
yeah,
this is something John Perez would love.
yeah. I mean, the Bitcoin isn't a security, so it
Yeah,
wouldn't really be affected by the SEC, unless I guess you have the ETFs. They could be considered securities, but yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here, and I'm not even sure whether Trump knows much about cryptocurrencies and altcoins. I think it was mostly political to try to get support. And don't forget, Mike, on the precious metal side, there's a big move from a lot of states
Mhm.
to make gold and silver uh, tax free, sales tax free, capital gains tax free, and even legal tender. I think Utah, uh,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they've passed the law, but they're going to be able to put some of the state funds into gold.
yeah,
So, and if you also look at the central banks around the world that are buying, the amount of gold they've been buying for the last almost 3 years. I don't hear any central bank buying Bitcoin and cryptos for their reserves.
right,
So I'm trying to ignore this. I'm trying to focus on gold and silver because I think they have the track record. of thousands of years of being stable, stable money, sound money. Uh, yeah, that's the way I see it. And I'm not like disparaging Bitcoin and crypto, but I I think people need to be really careful. It's much more of a euphoric market than precious metals. I mean, precious metals, we've had a good year and no one's talking about it, which is in a way a good thing.
Right. And so you mentioned like just the central banks that have either repatriated or out there actively, openly buying. And so clearly, so those central banks, once again, in all those countries are similar to what we have as well, or what we have here at the Federal Reserve, like, entities that claim to be independent, where their books are closed, only available to them because they are separate from the government. So that's one of the things where I'm like, okay, by them same central banks under that same structure, they report to the BIS. And so this gold accumulation on their part, how will it really benefit the people when it's all said and done, or is it something that they're doing on their end to cover their raw hides, and then eventually they'll reestablish trust but have gold in the vaults, so then issue their digital whatevers underneath all that. But will that gold that they repatriated actually benefit their own people, France and all, everybody else? So that's the part where it's like, okay, them getting gold sounds good, but will it benefit the people? That's
Yeah,
why everybody has
I,
their.
I, yeah, I agree with you. That's an important question. And the reason why I think they're repatriating the gold and buying gold is because they're moving away from the dollar and bond market, U.S. Treasuries as a reserve.
Mhm.
And yeah, unfortunately, like you said, it probably the way it will benefit the people there is that if the whole system implodes, if bonds collapse like treasuries and yields go up, that's the
Mhm.
end of the system, I would say. And it's always good to have gold, and the gold will help them reboot. And if they reboot into digital currencies, that's to be seen. And the same thing goes for crypto and Bitcoin. I don't think that's a, 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 a currency for the people. The whales control that. Very few. I don't think people will benefit from that either. So that's why I keep telling people that, yeah, don't wait for your central bank or government to buy this and that, but keep an eye on what they're doing. uh, like buying gold and silver. Some of them are buying silver, and start your own. Be your own central bank. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, like you said, I don't think they're doing it for the benefit of the people, but maybe for the stability of their currency once, because every currency on the planet is really got a foundation of dollars. And if the bond market in the US crashes, every bond market is going to crash and every currency is going to suffer. And the beneficiary, in my opinion, is going to be, going to be gold and silver, the beneficiaries. Cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular,
Mhm.
we don't have a track record that's far enough to know what happens when currencies collapse, what Bitcoin does. And right
Right.
now we have a reserve currency that's not even a proper currency. It's like a debt-based currency, which is the dollar. There were no reserve currencies in the past, which might
Mhm.
sound weird because I've spoken about that. But someone told me the other day what we've always had in the past is currencies that have gold as a reserve asset. And when and there were countries that had the most gold, they kind of controlled the system. But now, who has the most gold? We don't know. Um, I think there was a tweet about the 8,100 tons that the U.S. supposedly has
Yeah.
at Fort Knox. Is it there?
I've heard so many stories about, trucks leaving out late at night, trucks coming in sitting high, leaving out late at night sitting low. And that was decades ago. So they got tungsten bars in there. But speaking of which, like, when it just, I like to encourage people to keep an open mind and be open to the idea that during this type of, during this season of life, like anything is possible. Don't get over overly confident or overly excited about any promises that are being made to you, because so much is at stake. Literally, this system that we're on now is like hundreds or decades. There's been decades, if not a century, in the making, trying to continue this system to further concentrate into the hands of a much smaller few. And so far, they've done a damn good job of removing gold and silver out of the human psyche, giving
Yeah.
us temporary receipts in between, transition us to a ledger through the commercial banking sector. Now they're trying to rebrand that in some other form and fashion. So once again, like, unless we go back and more people find out about gold and silver or tangible assets in general, there's still, like, there's still not much really to bank on as far as his current administration, because even things Trump has not once said anything about, like, our monetary system in general. Like, he's talked about economic growth, how you gonna build the economy back up, but we can't be great again if our currency is going to the damn toilet. You know what I'm saying? So without our currency having some type of value to it, then what are people actually working for still? Like, more
Yeah.
digital units of something don't mean you're getting wealthier. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't think most presidents know much about currency and money, unfortunately. I mean, 25 years or ago or so, I didn't know much about it. And that's, I worked in the financial markets. So that's why I think every candidate for president should read What Has Government Done to Our Money by Murray Rothbard. When Nixon took the dollar off gold in 71, he said
Mhm.
it was going to be a new era, the new American dollar. And you look at all the charts of debt and every inequality since 1971, and it's gotten much worse because we don't have sound money anymore. So that's the way I see it, Mike.
Yeah, I do agree. And for those who are tuning in to us today, feel free to throw out thoughts, ideas, suggestions. I do
Yeah,
sometimes forget that we are live and people can talk to us, because I got
yeah.
questions for
There's
days.
a question here from on my side from William, PMCD. He says, "Please, can you comment on how publishing, media, entertainment may rebound after the crash you describe?" Um, Well, I assume that by that you mean the mainstream publishing, media and entertainment. I don't think they're gonna ever rebound. Even I think it's gonna get even worse for them if there's a crash. I guess what you're thinking is that people are gonna blame Trump for a possible meltdown in the next month or so. I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
I've noticed over the last week, especially, a lot of the woke Democratic slash commentators, analysts, like, such as The View. Like, The View is an extremely left wing, radical type show. I saw an article yesterday saying that, the producers and the network is scrambling to try to find pro Trump, talk show hosts. And I'm thinking, like, why are all these Democrats now all of a sudden trying to jump ship and, get rid of some of the bad things they were all for? And I'm like, okay, are they really trying to set up more people by thinking that they were either for a more conservative, God fearing type of country, or are they literally just desperate for viewership to where they're willing to just follow the trend? Like, right now, everything is pro America. Let's just go back to pro America. But the damage, in my opinion, has already been done. So I don't see no type of revival happening within the media realm. I see that perhaps after some type of event unfolds, there being a more further cramp down on alternative media, especially if it's a financial or monetary situation. I see them wanting to curtail the message to where alternative voices such as ours, like, okay, they call us fake news of misinformation because we're just telling the people who's the real problems and why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. So I don't know, but time will tell, man. But the media is done, man. That's why with
I,
X now, it makes it that's that X.com has become more of the go-to for everybody based upon whatever they're looking for. So I don't see like 247, all the mainstream channels that I watch over here, or that we have over here, growing again. So
yeah, I mean, I don't agree with everything Elon Musk says, but he has kept that platform wide open for everyone. And now we're seeing like the left, not just in the U.S. but here in the UK, a lot of big organizations are leaving X, and they're going to
Mhm.
become even less looked at and viewed, because I think young people, they don't watch TV and they don't read newspapers. They're on X or TikTok or Instagram, and I think it's a big. I don't think the legacy media has a future. That's my answer to William there.
Yeah. Also, uh, Don Lemon, former CNN, he posted like he posted. I'm not sure if you saw it, but I'll bring it on the screen. He posted like a farewell
Yeah,
to leaving Twitter, and he's like, because Elon Musk is ruining it, and he's moving the something to Texas, so litigation all be held in Texas. It's going to be a very unfair, unbiased, and whatever. He's like, I'm leaving, just to let everybody know. And a comment thread beneath that was like, goodbye. What took you so long? Why are you even posting this? Get out of here. We don't.
yeah.
I'm like, but I'm
I
like, from
heard
here,
I heard someone say when people leave X or Twitter, they don't really say I'm leaving. They just leave.
just
It's like,
leave.
yeah. What about, I think, wasn't it Bruce Springsteen who said he was going to jump off a cliff or something if Trump won? Or there's a lot of
A lot of people said that.
celebrities said they're going to leave the U.S. Have they left yet?
Not yet, Dave, because I mean, like, as bad as they may think that things are or will be under him, it's a lot more freedom and choice over here than it is in some of the other places.
Yeah.
So they're just talking trash, man.
Especially here in the UK, things are getting very draconian here. They're
Yeah.
arresting people for making comments that, yeah, they're not really, they're just comments that offend some people,
Mhm.
but offending people is not a crime, but it's really bad here.
Right.
So, but I read, Mike, that an article here that a lot of the high end real estate agents in London, they're
Mhm.
getting a lot of inquiries from very rich liberal Americans that want to buy properties in London as a safe haven. I mean, they want to go from the US to London, where we have a socialist government that's cracking down on free speech,
Mhm.
and they want to like leave that to come to London. It's just sounds crazy to me.
And speaking of which, the text you sent about the stock exchange, the LGBTQ Board Alliance is celebrating its launch, as it says
Yeah,
here.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that's I'm not saying that people for example, can't decide what they want to do with their lives, but
Mhm.
this is just too much. It's not going
Right.
to improve the London Stock Exchange by having these kind of policies. You should just hire the best person for the job. And
Right.
yeah, this is just like a symptom of the craziness that we have here. And
Right.
hopefully, you guys in the US will be moving away from this kind of stuff.
That would be good. And then also just something that really, really got me fired up in a sense today. I'll share this with you. Is that the state of Oklahoma looks like they are being very proactive in bringing the Bible back into the schools. And so when I saw this article here, I'm like, wow, like, okay, I didn't know nothing about this. But as I zoom in here, it says here that Ryan Walters, oops, let me go back. Ryan Walters says more than 500 Bibles purchased for Oklahoma public schools. So the idea that the state is looking to bring in the Bible again, I think is a great thing if it works out. Hopefully it spreads just because our kids are morally bankrupt. Our nation has been as well. And giving us some type of sound footing on biblical values again would be something I think would be more beneficial than harmful. But then again, does the war liberal side of things, will they tolerate that? So we'll see. So
Well,
I'm sure there'll be some constitutional stuff with that. Go ahead.
I saw that every county in Oklahoma voted red. So,
Hmm.
yeah, and I guess it makes sense that, I mean, I'm not saying everyone has lost his or hers moral compass, but
Mhm.
it's part of, it's just a symptom of the money, actually. And people must think, why do you always talk about money? Well, because money is the only thing that's used, is half of every commercial transaction. And if the money is rotten, society becomes rotten, and it permeates through the fabric of society. So, yes, I agree with you about the this move in Oklahoma. I'm not saying I know the Bible back to front, but there's a lot of good stuff there. That a lot of it's like a bit of a manual for living, which I think is pretty
Right.
useful.
Right. And that's the thing, like, just majority of our core values in society in general, like not stealing, not killing, not doing just the core things, originated from that. And on top of that, like everything can be solved in one simple equation: love your neighbor as yourself. If
Yeah.
everybody loved their neighbor as themselves, we wouldn't have none of the foolishness that we got going on in the world. So, but no, but that was good news to me. So that got me excited when I saw that, and hopefully, more states latch onto that. But and that's another thing where it's like, where was that all along? Like, so that pitch is a picture to that, but the governor had a "Make America Great" hat on. Like, where was that 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Like, so why all of a sudden now they
Well,
getting excited?
I think people are just waking up.
Hmm.
It takes time. Things don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that's coming out now that came out in 2016, I've been reading and learning about for over 20 years. I mean, I was watching some of the stuff on alternative media like Alex Jones back in 2003 and 4. I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember Jeff Rents. I was watching that kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
and to me, I'm still skeptical because yeah, it seems too good to be true. But let's hope it works out. But I think in the end of the day, like you said, it's all about respecting the other individual, like the golden rule.
Hmm.
And the other thing is the truth as well. And it's hard to know what the truth is because I think we've been told porkies by the legacy media and other people for many years, and that's why they're like, yeah, they're going the way of the dodo bird because people are realizing, yeah, what are they talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting, man. Yeah. So that's where we have to wait and see. But yet I remain optimistic somewhat, and I'm very prayerful in the fact that, Lord, like I'm hoping that this time is something that can, draw in more people to the faith in particular, but to really get people back on track of some type of sound moral foundation for our nation. Because I think wherever the U.S. goes, the world would tend to follow, or they will mimic us in a sense. But then again, we'll have to wait and see. But let's get to some Q&A. Let's get to some questions. So for those who are tuned in, if you have not as of yet, hit the thumbs up button, show love for the channels. And if you happen to be thumbing across this for the first time, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you'll be notified. And then throw out some thoughts, ideas, suggestions in the chat at Manico64 or at Rethinking the Dollar Store to stand out. And we'll just, share our 2 cents on it and try to make sense of it. So take a couple questions and then we'll get ready for the weekend. Also, what you guys got planned for the weekend? Anything fun? Anything new?
Not really. I'm gonna play golf on Sunday morning.
Is it
Uh,
cold? Is it cold
yeah,
there?
yeah, I have to wear a few layers, but I have a match, a match play. I won the first round. Now I'm playing against someone else in the second in
Mm-hmm.
my club, so that would be interesting. And we start early at 8 o'clock, so it's gonna be cold, but yeah,
Oh man. Yeah. What else we got? So let me see. Going to Tampa. Somebody going to Tampa. Good. And going to the sun. I hear you.
yeah.
Have fun.
Well, there was
Uh,
sun here today, but it's cold. So there's a question here from Sun Tzu. It's not
sun.
Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu. When did the 12 tribes become Jews and the nations Gentile? Do you know that, Mike? I don't know.
Let me see. So you have to go back Old Testament wise, and so I'm not sure if that's a serious question or not, but assuming they're
Yeah,
asking that, perhaps they may know.
yeah,
But as far as the 12 tribes becoming Jews, I believe that the label of Jews is more of a first century type of labeling, because before that they were just considered sons of Abraham or Hebrews. So
yeah.
Jews has become a more first century and beyond term to where I don't know when they became Jews. They were
Yeah.
always the sons of Abraham, so I refer to them
Yeah,
as that. So
yeah, I'm not. Or Judea. I mean, that's the name of a place, wasn't it? When the Romans were there, that's one of
yeah,
the. Yeah.
or Judah in general. So one of the tribes. So yeah, Sun Tzu, feel free to enlighten us if you have some
Yeah. Well,
insight
someone's
on that.
saying here that a lot of people, MW, a lot of people are leaving the UK.
Hmm.
Yeah, there is a lot of people. I think, and I have a friend. He's from the UK, but he moved to the Bahamas, like after the '08 crisis. And I met
Hmm.
him through another friend, and I talked to him. Well, we communicate a lot, and he keeps sending me this stuff, very negative about the UK. And there are negative things, and but I
He's trying
think
to sway you on down.
the people that are moving, they're very wealthy, and they can afford to just keep their place here and then buy another place somewhere and go. And but it's not that easy. And I think just because things are bad doesn't mean to say you need to jump ship. I think
Hmm.
there are ways to navigate through what's going on. And I think m- our family here is pretty, yeah, we're doing okay. And it's, yeah, there's a lot of bad things going on, and we can see the news, but there's also a lot of good things. So that's what I
Yeah,
would say.
yeah. Home is where the heart is at, man. That's
Low
for
blood
sure.
pressure is saying, are you
Hold
gonna?
on, we get that in a second.
Oh,
So it
sorry.
says, question
Yeah,
for Mike and Mario. Millions of people are still permanently banned from X. No reason given other than they liked some tweet. Where are you aware of that? So not true free speech for some. I don't doubt it, but a lot of the people that I follow have come back, such as Chris Dwayne from Silver Shield. He's back
oh
on.
yeah,
Alex Jones came back, and so a good portion has come back. And so the ones that have not, I'm not familiar with them, so that I don't know.
yeah. I think the thing about social media and is that you need to think about how you communicate on social media, because most people think, well, it's me, and I can just talk like I talk to my friends.
Hmm.
And in a way, that's true, but you need to realize that it's becoming so much more public that you have to behave. And by behave, I'm not saying you don't talk about subjects that are controversial, but it's the way you come across. The
Hmm.
Yeah, you
How
gotta.
you word it? How you word it? Like, because
Yeah,
you're still talking to somebody on the receiving end. So I
yeah,
personally wouldn't say anything that I wouldn't want said done
yeah,
to me. So
yeah.
like,
I know. That's
tweet the
right.
way I want to be tweeted. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think some people are just too rude and inappropriate, and I've always tried to be polite with people, not just on social media, but in life. Yeah, there are times when I lose my cool in real life, but not
Mhm.
real life. But you need to, yeah, watch it. But I'm sure there are people who are still banned. So there
Yeah.
you go.
It says, do you still think we are going to have a commodity super cycle?
Yeah, I think we're still in it. And it started after the 2020 crash. And
Hmm.
right now, it's kind of stalled, but it's going to get even more interesting, I think. So we're still in it. It doesn't feel like it because the last year and a half, they've been able to soup up things again in
Yeah.
the paper assets.
Here's the last 5 years in gold, and then here is silver. So silver has looks nothing like gold, but then again, like the little bit of motion movement we've had, because it's been around this 24 to 20, so it's been about 26 on average the last 5 years, and so yeah, silver is still got some up leg to go, but when it comes, it will come. You will believe it like that. You will know.
Yeah, and I think the other commodities as well, they're going to do well,
Yeah.
mainly because the currencies are not going to buy as much, and unfortunately, yeah, that's going to hurt the general public even more, unless they have a lot of gold and silver.
Somebody says go to holiday at Miami, Florida, go see Andy Shackman.
Yeah, he's offered. Yeah, I do maybe I should go this winter because that's the time to go play golf
Yeah.
with Andy and yeah, have a few T-bone steaks and stuff.
Uh, Tomorrow, you ever go to Cayman Islands, British overseas territory? That's
uh,
the LBP.
yeah, I've been when I was younger in the '70s. We went with my
Mm.
dad. We went around the British Virgin Islands, Tortola, Virgin Gorda.
Mhm.
I've been there, but not recently. Um, but th- yeah, those are all tax-free havens. But
Mhm.
I don't know. We're
In
not.
time.
Yeah.
So it says, is it possible for the U.S. to pull out of NATO?
Um,
You pull out of NATO, there go NATO, because
well,
NATO exists just to poke fun at the bear. Go ahead.
well, I think the U.S. should go back to what George Washington said: "Do not
Mhm.
get involved in foreign entanglements, or yeah, lead by example." And yeah, I think the U.S. should pull out of NATO. And if Europe wants to defend itself, it should do it by itself. Why should America come and defend Europe?
Yeah, I do agree. Somebody says Panama Papers. Blue Lagoon receives draft mine permit for the Dome Mountain Gold Project. So we got some mining action out here. The Blue Lagoon receives draft mine permit.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't.
Canada. Huh? Go ahead.
Is Blue Lagoon a mining company or a project? I haven't
I think
heard
Blue
about.
Lagoon. Let's look it up real quick because I want to say they are a conglomerate of something. I think I've spoke with somebody from them. Blue Lagoon. Let me see. I know, like Canada. They're the majority of Canada is just wildlife that's
Yeah,
uh, Blue Lagoon mining that's loaded with natural resources and minerals, but yet the government gave away all their gold.
I know
That's what.
we've got more gold than the Canadian government, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Blue Lagoon Resources, 15 high grade veins. So I'm not sure who the CEO is. I think I spoke with them in the past. But no, so that's yeah, so the mining sector, like once again, I haven't been following as much as I should, but definitely there's opportunity out there. So let me ask you a question from like because I talk a lot about like just speculation. Like what are some things that you might keep an eye on that are severely undervalued outside of of course silver being probably the most
Yeah,
monetary medium. What else might intrigue you as something for people to consider or look into or something like that for opportunities, like looking
yeah.
ahead at 2025?
I think holding physical gold and silver is a good thing, and it's going to pay off handsomely in terms that you'll be able to buy a lot of things a lot cheaper, a lot of assets or things that you want. But
Hmm.
within the precious metal space, I think the mining companies are really undervalued.
Hmm.
Yes, but they're tricky. They're speculative, especially the exploration companies that are trying to uh, find the resources and prove that they're there. They're very speculative, but they can provide like 10, 20 times gains. So
Hmm.
I think they're interesting. And if you're into that, why not? One thing, and I like a speculation once in a while, but I put money like in a speculative investment or
Hmm.
punt that I can afford to lose. That I wouldn't it wouldn't hurt me if it went to zero. And
Yeah.
but and then you have the producers like Newmont and Barrick and the companies that are more established. I think they're going to be a good investment, even though they've come off now quite a bit in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, and they're heavily undervalued. I was at Precious Metals Summit conference in Zurich earlier this week, and Mark Faber was there, and he said. With gold and silver being up around 30% this year, I would have expected the miners to be up 200%, but they're not. So
Mm.
I think there's still a lot of room there. And some people might say, what about other stuff? Well, I focus on the precious metals. So I'm not going to tell you to buy Dogecoin or We had a plumber come in today to fix a few things, and he showed us he's got some Dogecoin, and he said he's happy because it's gone up since Trump won. But he
Oh
doesn't even
man.
know what Doge. He doesn't even know what Bitcoin is. I explained it to him, and he said, "Wow, how do you know all that?" And my wife said, "Well, that's what he does. He looks at these things."
Yeah, I follow a variety of things, and I do think I mean, the fact that powers that be are steering us towards digital. I cannot ignore that because I've been following it well before it became a main news topic. So that is where I think the most returns will probably be along with miners, but I do know that regardless of how things play out, the tech sector, whether it be the Web3 development as well as video games, stuff like that, stuff that the kids, wherever the kids' attention will be in the future, that's where there'll be
Yeah,
opportunity because they're building out
yeah.
digital stuff for them.
I don't think there's a problem with digital. It's
Mhm.
just that the governments and regulators want to control it
Right.
with these anti-money laundering, know your client. Because I remember I got involved with Bitcoin and cryptos in 2011, 2012,
Hmm.
and you could open accounts with exchanges, and you could do anything. Uh, and they didn't ask any questions where you were, ID or passports or photos. But now all of these exchanges, and I don't deal that much anymore in it. They want to know everything because they. So I have a problem because even if you had a banking sector that wasn't digital, but the government was surveying it, it would still be the same. But digital is good. I mean, it's convenient, but the problem is all the government control.
Yeah.
And the only hope I have is that if the system implodes, governments will implode as well. And it will get really interesting. And maybe digital will be like, yeah, not controlled by the government. And in that sense, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So it's gonna be interesting to see, man. What do we got here? We are coming down to the end of the year. We have the FMC meeting. What is that? Beginning of December.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's every 6 weeks. Let's see.
So we'll
It's probably more towards the middle of December because the last one was just after the election. Let's have a look here. December 17th to 18th. So
17, 18. Okay. So,
pre-Christmas special.
yeah. And I'm sure as a result of whatever comes from that, the markets will respond or it'll be baked in before we get to that point. But
Or Mike, we could have a emergency meeting before
mm,
that if the bond market really gets yeah, out of control.
ooh,
Who knows?
yeah. Yeah. Someone says taking crypto profits and buying a silver dime soon.
Silver.
Oh man. Well, okay. Well, let's get ready to draw down. As always, people appreciate you for hanging out with us this Friday for the wrap up. Hopefully, we covered enough things just to put our 2 cents on things and try to make sense of it. But based upon what Mario just mentioned, the bond market as well as the debt and everything in between, like it's going to be interesting last couple weeks of the year. So anyway, take advantage of the manipulation. Silver dips, gold dips. Take advantage of it. And yeah, learn, live, love, laugh, and just enjoy life while you still have it. So it is a gift. But all right, Mario, be blessed, be safe, everybody. Have a great weekend. We see you guys next